capitalism is somewhat broken. I'm not sure there's a better option than capitalism, but it needs to be fixed. There needs to be a greater sense of fairness and better distribution of wealth. Whereas what we've seen over the last decade is more concentration of wealth. I'm quite a deep thinker, so a lot of that actually came before I started the company. I spent a month trying to find reasons not to start the company because I knew how hard it was going to be to get like a technology company off the ground, but a technology company in banking is like one of the most difficult things I could ever imagine doing. But I kept coming back to the point, well, somebody needs to do this, and if I don't do it, who's going to do it? Because there is an injustice, and that injustice is the mismatch in supply and demand of capital flowing into growth businesses. So right now, I'd estimate more than 80% of capital that flows from banks into the business landscape, it goes to large corporates. Right? It doesn't go to growth companies. And we're a good case in point. I mean, our company is in the 6th year of operating. We've got nearly 100 people in the business. We've raised nearly 20 million of capital.
You're on the remedies as well, the RBS funds.
Yeah, we didn't manage to get any of those. But we've never managed to get any credit. We've got an overdraft from our bank, which is quite small, but we can't get any credit products. And we're like, well, that's an injustice. I mean, we're trying to do something very hard and add value and have an impact on the world. But because of the shape of who we are, we don't fit within the boxes of the banking industry. And that sort of supply and demand imbalance, that's where I see the injustice. It's kind of like those who have will continue to have more, and those who have not can't get on the hamster wheel. And that's what we're trying to help banks to do. It's like, I also had to make the decision, did we want to go into competition and create something new, or do we want to try and solve the problem from the inside? And it's like, there's just no way to solve it as an alternative lender at scale. You've got to work with the banks. And I don't know anything about banking, all I know is tech. So it's like, well, why don't we bring the tech to the banks and help them to solve it from the inside?
Looking at some of the, particularly like the early stage businesses out there, even though those in Fintech, what do you think would happen to, well, really the world as a whole, if they had access to the capital that they could? Do you think there'd be, what sort of problems do you think would be solved?
Well, I think part of the shift to, more worrying sort of geopolitical instability in the world is partly because of these core problems. Capitalism is somewhat broken. I'm not sure there's a better option than capitalism, but it needs to be fixed. There needs to be a greater sense of fairness and better distribution of wealth. Whereas what we've seen over the last decade is more concentration of wealth. The top 1% of rich people are getting richer, and the gap with everybody else is getting bigger. So the middle classes are getting poorer. And
I mean, it almost just got a hell of a lot worse.
Indeed,
as well, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
What was she thinking, honestly?
Yeah, the UK challenges are a self-inflicted own goal. Yeah. I have to agree.
Oh yeah, I would love to a bit of fly on the wall in the Bank of England during that.
I know,
speech. It would have been.
Well, if you look at it from, I guess, one sector of the UK economy, you're like, great, this is good for me. But if you look at it from everywhere else, it's kind of like, well, this is really it's destabilizing.
It outweighs the cons, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
The pros, sorry, the pros are, yeah.
I would agree.